Hello, my name is Oliver Glanz and I'm a professor of Old Testament at Andrews University. In this tutorial I would like to show you how to run syntax searches in Logos Bible software. Now, the situation for syntax searches is kind of unfortunate in Logos Bible software, as at this moment we're speaking here about the beginning of October 2016. We have for the Old Testament the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia in its SESB 2.0 version. This is the most powerful database, Hebrew database out there that contains both morphological as well as syntactical tagging and information. The database is provided by the ETCBC research group at the Free University of Amsterdam. It's a top-notch Hebrew database out there for carrying out any linguistic, syntactical or whatsoever research on the Hebrew Bible. Now, unfortunately, this syntactical information is not made accessible to the users of Logos Bible software. We only get access to the morphological information that is embedded here. So as you see this text, it actually has in the background syntactical information, but somehow we cannot access this. Logos has promised for years to make that information accessible, but at this moment there is no way to get access to it. In fact, a couple of years ago, Logos Bible software had that feature available, and it allowed for great access to syntactical information and running syntax searches. So we hope that Logos at a certain moment will keep their promise and will actually make this feature available. So therefore, with regard to the Hebrew Bible, we have to choose another database in order to perform some syntax searches. Now, with regard to the New Testament, the situation is a little bit better. The Nestle Aland it does have, or the Greek New Testament offers a syntactical database, a couple of them actually. I think the best, according to my experience and also my knowledge of the ones who have put together that syntactical database for the Hebrew, for the Greek, is the Cascadia syntax. The Cascadia syntax, Greek New Testament syntax, has been developed by Randall Tunn and Andy View from the Asian Bible Society. It is now published or owned, I think, by the Global Learning Initiative, and it provides, I think, the best analysis of the New Testament with regard to syntax. Unfortunately, as you see, the syntax analysis is based on the SBL edition and not on the scholarly edition of the Nestle Aland. So this is really a drawback, this is really a disadvantage here, but we have to work with that at this moment. Okay, let's first go for a syntax search in the New Testament. When you go to Matthew chapter 20 and there verses 20 and 21, you see that the mother, Hemeter ton huion Zebedayu, she is asking, the mother of the Zebediah's sons is asking, she is kneeling, and then she is Aitusa, she is asking something from whom? From him. Now this him is Jesus. Well, she wants her two sons to get a special position, in the new kingdom of God. So in verse 21, Jesus responds, and it says, but he said to her, Aute, tis theles, what do you want? So in this tutorial, I would like to trace this very question, what do you want, being preceded by a clause that says, and he said, or he said. Now, how to do this? First, you want to open the graphical display of the syntax of the Greek New Testament. So for that purpose, we are opening our Cascadia text. Cascadia, and then syntax, click on Cascadia syntax graphs of the New Testament. All right, here we go. So now you have the exact display of that very question that we just read in its syntactical analysis as provided by Cascadia. Hode apen, you see here clause number 1. Clause number 1 says he, subject, he, then we have the predicate, said, and then we have the object to her, the indirect object to her. And then we have a second clause, first clause, second clause. That second clause contains the question, what do you want? So what is the object? And then we have the predicate theles. What do you want? Okay, now since we have that open, let's enlarge this a bit. Okay, here we go. We can now click on search, choose syntax, and then make sure that we're now searching that particular syntactical database. So in that case, it's Cascadia syntax. Okay, then we go on query, new search. Let's move this search up here. Okay, good. So new search. Now you can add elements to your search. So what you see here is basically all the object types, we call them, all the elements that are available for your queries. So in this case, we're searching for clauses. You see CL, it's an abbreviation of clause. You see it also at the very bottom in that pop-up window, clause. So let's go to clause. So then we see what is following the clause are the phrases. Unfortunately, or for whatever reason, Cascadia chooses to call them clause functions. Now we can open clause functions here, clause function. So that would be basically the phrase functions within a clause function. And here now you see that we have the different clause functions. We have predicates, subjects, objects, indirect objects, and these kind of elements. So we are now just doing a test run, and so we try to keep it as simple as possible. We are only searching for clauses that have as a predicate the word append. So that would mean the clause function is predicate or verbal, and then the word that is contained in that container, so to speak, is append. Now, in some dictionaries you see append as being part of the entry Lego. In some dictionaries they have two entries. They have the Lego entry and then the append entry. Obviously here in the Cascadia database they regard append as being a separate entry, and you see it down there on the left, append. You would have to look up append instead of Lego, but we can search actually for both. So we type G:, and then append. Here we have it, to say tell, and then you type in or, then G for G:, and then we type in Lego. So now we're searching for append or Lego. Okay, good. Let's also highlight this. Okay, now what we can do is we just run a search and see whether we are able to capture at least that little phenomenon in Matthew 20 verse 21. It's always good to first run a test query to see whether you're actually doing it right. And so this has been helpful because you see we're not getting any results. No results are found. And this is however weird because we know that append is a word contained by the verbal function of the clause function, contained by a clause. The issue here, however, is that you see a couple of clauses here. You have clause number, the highest clause, so to say, then a clause that is on a lower hierarchy, and then we have the third clause. So at this moment, we are searching only for clauses on this level. And on this level, obviously, the phenomenon we're searching for doesn't exist. So therefore, they allow you to actually match skipping levels. And this is something you will have to use. If you want to have more information about that, you can click here on this question mark here. So now what we're doing by saying matching skip levels, we are searching for any clause. Doesn't matter whether it's on this level or whether it's on this level or whether it's on this level, as long as that clause contains this clause function. All right, let's search for that clause now, and we should get Matthew chapter 20 and there 21. Well, you see there are a lot of clauses that have the word append in here, so we will definitely also get our Matthew 20:21. So let's move up here. And that will tell us that we have done it right. So matching skip levels, that's the clue. Chapter 20, here we come. chapter 20, and then verse 21. Here you have it. Apen aute, and he said, or but he said to her, what do you want? Okay, good. So let's go back here to our syntax tree and now put on the second clause in here. So we click here on clause, and then you see we have two clause functions. We have the object as well as the predicate, the verbal function. So we are clicking here on object clause function, and then we add another clause function. The first clause function is an object, so we make sure that we click on object. And the second clause function is our verbal function or predicate, so I just click on both. Okay, good. So then we want that object to contain this particular word, namely the word tease, what. So here we go into lemma and type in tease, common tease, here, what. And the second word is to want, word, lemma, and then telo, wish, want. Okay, good. So let's highlight these terms to make them more visible. Good. So then, of course, we need to make sure that we skip levels again. Matching skips levels. I do this for all elements. And then search. So now you see we're getting all those clauses that have either apon or lego as the predicate of the preceding clause, and then we have the question teles, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Following. Now if you would analyze these questions, you will see that it is particular Jesus who is asking this question, what do you want? We have a couple of instances for Pilate, like here you see Matthew 27:17. Pilate said to them, whom do you want me to release for you? But this is a more complex clause where you have an independent clause attached to the tina telete, and in that case we could tweak our search a little bit more to make sure that no independent clauses following that clause number 2. But you get the idea of how to construct syntax searches here for the Greek. Let's move to the Hebrew. Now for the Hebrew, let's go here to Genesis 1 verse 1. Let's say we're interested in all those cases where the word bara, to create, appears in the Old Testament, and we want to find out who is actually the subject of bara, who does create in the Old Testament. There where a subject is explicit, we want to find it. Now, in order to do that, you have again to open a syntactical database that actually provides the syntactical analysis and the syntax trees. As I said, unfortunately the BHS and its ETCBC version does not, or the Logos does not grant us access to that information at this moment, so we have to go to another database, and that would be the Anderson-Forbes database, so clause visualization, the Hebrew Bible Anderson-Forbes. So you click on that, and now you get a display of the syntactical syntax trees as made available by the Anderson-Forbes database. Now here we have our bara clause. So you see, let's move this a little bit over so that it's more visible. We see we have a clause, and that clause is quite a long clause in this structure. We have the clause, the minimum clause attached here. So as you can see, we have in that structure bara Elohim et, we have the finite verb as what they call clause immediate constituent. You see it down there on the left at the bottom, and then we have the subject, and then we have a direct object. So it created, then the subject who created, God created, and then we have the direct object, which is a more complex object, namely the heavens and the earth. Okay, so let's go and run a query. Syntax. Now let's make sure that we search the Anderson-Forbes database. Then we go on new syntax search. Let's integrate this here. Okay. Now we have to basically copy paste or mirror this structure that we see on the left. So we are searching for a clause. Now that clause is followed in the terminology of Anderson-Forbes by clause immediate constituents. This would be a subject, predicate, object. So we say we want to find a clause IC, that's this immediate constituent. Now the first immediate constituent would be our predication, bara. So we will say we are searching for finite verb. Now then we add the word itself. They're not calling it word, they're calling it segment. So we type in now Hebrew bara. And here it is, create. And we add that to our list and also directly highlight it. Okay, good. So if we are running this query now, we should find all cases where the word bara appears as a finite predication in any clause. Let's run the search. And here we are. You see all the bara cases in actually clauses that have a finite verbal form. Now, we didn't want to find just the case of bara. We want to find actually who the subject of that bara is. So we go back here to our syntax display. We are searching now for a subject, clause immediate constituent, and that should be a subject. So we click here on subject, and the word that actually is functioning as a subject we don't want to pick. So we're not going to write down Elohim or something like this because we're interested in any of those subjects that drive the action of bara. So let's click this, highlight this term too. So now we should be ready and run the search. And here you see we have all the cases where we have an explicit subject in the Old Testament following the word bara. Let's actually take the highlight here of bara so that it becomes more visible. Now you see Elohim is subject, Elohim, Adonai, Adonai. So obviously only God or a divinity is actually the creator. Now in this particular setup we are first searching for the finite verb, then this finite verb is followed by the subject. But there might be cases where this order is actually reversed. So we could reverse this order by just dragging the first element and making it the second element. So let's search, and this will deliver, it seems, 5 cases. Now, who creates these? The Holy of Israel created her. I created. You see, we find obviously a couple of cases, 5 cases, where the subject precedes the predication. So in order to prevent us to run 2 separate queries, we could also run one query and catch both the results of our first construction, 8 results, as well as the results of our second construction, which had 5 results. So we should get 14 results if we would combine those 2. And that we do by clicking on the plus and then saying unordered group. Now you see in the unordered group we have 2 elements, and unordered group says that in whatever order those 2 elements appear, I will find it. So subject in first or second position, both will be found. Okay, so let's run a search, and now we should get 13 instances. Yes, so 8 plus 5 of course is 13. So here we find all those cases. Now when you run through all those results, you will see that the word bara, the action of creating, is only related to God. Nobody else does create in the Old Testament but Elohim, Adonai, or El. Okay, this is how you put together syntax queries in Logos. In order to grant you access to the ETCBC database with all its functions and potentials, you go to the Shibang Ancient Data website, which is hosted by the Royal Dutch Society for the Humanities and Sciences. And on this page you get full access to the database. You can run any query and will get very precise results. So it's a much more powerful tool than what you are getting with Logos Bible software. I have in my YouTube channel a couple of tutorials that explain you how to get started with Shibang. So as long as Logos is not yet providing you full access to the Hebrew syntactical database of the BHS, this is the way to go. Use the Shibang Ancient Data site and run your queries here. Okay, I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you have any questions, put your questions in the comment section below. Thank you. Bye.